Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the Climate Podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Eddie D, here today. Ibrahim,
OG.
you want to introduce our guest?
So this is the guy that I shouted out in the last episode, the OG, Eddie D, David Whittaker. This man is an author of various books. Quentin Morrison, The Man Who Hated Halloween. He's also a songwriter with Not Guilty, which is super, super powerful, especially in a day and age like this, what's going on. He also has my personal favorite, the Eddie D Awards, which are amazing. Those things are, it's basically the ESPYs, but a lot better, to put it in perspective. So I met this guy actually playing ball. I remember like being like 13, 14 maybe, and seeing this guy with like these goggles, and he had like the cleanest jerseys, and he just rebounded like Dennis Rodman, but he had a clean jumper. Um, so yeah, Eddie D, man, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you guys doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate it. Appreciate the time you took out.
Doing all right.
Appreciate being on.
Hell yeah. So I
All
wanted
right.
to ask you before we get into anything, what is the craziest smack talk that you've ever heard or given somebody?
I really wasn't much of a talker when I was like in high school and, playing in gym and playing in rec leagues. Sometimes I'd tell people they couldn't board like Rodman. I'm like, y'all ain't Rodman, y'all ain't Rodman. I was like, that was the craziest thing I would say. The craziest story I heard was I can't remember the guy's name, but my coworker Kevin said he met this guy. This is way back in the day, like when the Bulls had Norm Van Leer. So this guy was like a true OG. He said he walked into a gym to play basketball with this guy, and this guy introduced himself. He said, "You don't know me?" And my friend Kevin was like, "No." So they started playing. This guy walked across half court, pulled up, and drained the three. Then he did it again. And he was like,
No way.
"Hello, my name." Introduced himself again. He said,
Oh
"You
my
haven't heard
god.
me?"
Oh my
That's
god.
funny. That's crazy, man.
That's
So I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, where did the love of the game originally come from? So talk to me a little bit about like when you were growing up, how you developed a love for basketball and your knowledge of the game, where
It,
it really came from.
it was the 91 Bulls really that did it for me. After I saw them play, I just knew I wanted to play basketball. So the next semester, my dad signed me up for a rec league. I was playing ever since. Then once my uncles and my cousins saw I was into basketball, they were schooling me about the old players. My dad started telling me about Wilt Chamberlain, Oscar Robertson, Bill Russell, Elgin Baylor. And
yeah.
then when I got NBA TV, they actually showed, in the summer they showed the all games on NBA TV. So I
Yeah,
started watching all of those, and I was like, wow, this is this is
Yeah.
great. And I was players I never heard of, like I didn't know who Elvin Hayes was. I saw him on NBA TV. He was like draining turnarounds like it was free throws. Like wow, like I
yeah.
might not know about this guy before,
Yeah.
So
Man, you
Quick
mentioned Elgin Baylor, dude. He was really like people really don't know how good he was, man, back in the day. Like his name is not brought up a lot as one of the greats.
yeah,
So
my uncle was like, people talk about Jordan, but people don't talk about him. But people probably look, he's 0-8 in the finals.
yeah,
That's only
that's what
because
I was
he's
gonna
going up
mention.
against those Celtics teams.
yeah,
It really wasn't his fault that he was going up against, a loaded team. And
The Hall of
just for young
Famers.
people,
stacked.
just for young people listening, back in those days, they have a salary cap, and the scouting was different, so you could keep your teams together forever. So just imagine
Yeah.
Kevin Durant, Curry, and Thompson playing together their whole career.
Oh my
Exactly.
god.
Like,
Yeah.
That's not even fair. Um and so I wanted to ask you because you, as you mentioned, were a 90s kid, played a lot of your basketball in the 90s. Everyone always talks about the like Mike phenomenon, right? Was it actually that real? Was it that everyone wanted to be like Mike? Was it that like influential on the basketball players in your time?
oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Everybody talked about Jordan. I remember the year Stackhouse talked junk about Jordan, and everybody at school the next day was like, "You see, Jordan got 42 against Stackhouse, or however many,
Oh.
might have been more." But everybody at school was talking about that the next day. And then when he retired, one of my friends was crying when he retired the first time. After the 93 season, one of my friends was crying, and he can't be retiring, that mic stuff was real. That was definitely real. It was just like, I didn't even realize the Blackhawks were winning games back in those days, because like the whole city was just mainly Bulls.
Turning up
You
on
didn't even hear
Jordan,
about the Bears in those days when the Bulls were winning, because the Bears won in 85, but the Bulls won in 91, 92, 93, 90. It's just different when you win that many times that close together.
Yeah. That makes sense.
That's crazy. And Stackhouse was no bum too, so that was, I mean, to drop 40 on Stackhouse is, yeah,
but
he was no bum.
He was like in his first few seasons, Jordan was already a vet. That was like when he first came back.
Yeah.
And he pretty much scored him. I think it was in 96, I believe.
Dang.
It's crazy, man.
Okay. So I wanted to get right into some NBA news. You had actually sent us an article about NBC Sports made an article about the most clutch players in the league. And to give everyone listening a quick summary of the list, I'll list all 10 players. At 10, you have Steph Curry, 9, Kyrie Irving, then Jason Tatum, then Chris Paul, James Harden, Damian Lillard, Kevin Durant. Number 3 was Jimmy Butler. Number 2 was LeBron James. And number 1 was Anthony Davis. And just to give everyone perspective, this article uses this stat called WPA. And what WPA is, and this is the example they gave, take Anthony Davis's game-winning three-pointer at the end of Game 2 against
the Nuggets, right?
Yeah, I think it was against the Nuggets in the previous playoffs. It was a game winner.
Yep.
Before he made the shot, the Lakers had an 18.2% chance of winning. After he made the shot, the Lakers obviously had 100% chance of winning. So that's an 81% difference. That 81% difference is accredited to Anthony Davis's clutch WPA. So when you average all of these players' clutch WPA, that's how they were able to come up with this list. Basically, it's a percentage to show how much these players affected their teams. I wanted to ask you guys, what are your thoughts on this list? Do you think they got it right? Do you think they got it wrong? Is it more than just numbers? What do you think of this list?
I was actually surprised Anthony Davis was on there, but then I thought about some of the numbers. When he was on New Orleans, he was the main, guy. So he's getting the ball a lot, and he only made it to the playoffs those few years, but his points for the years he made it are crazy.
Yeah.
So of course his clutch numbers are going to be big because he was getting the ball down the stretch all the time when he was with them. And, the Lakers went to him a lot last year. So then when I started thinking about it, I was like, okay, that makes sense. But then I was surprised Kawhi wasn't on there. But then I thought about him. I'm like, well, he was on the Spurs for years and years and wasn't the go-to guy when he first got there. So that makes sense that he wouldn't be on this list because he hasn't been the go-to guy for as many. Most of the people on that list have been the go-to guy for years and years.
Oh, yeah.
Kawhi wasn't.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, my take on the list is that it is nowhere near what I expected. Like, for example, even having Curry on this list, I did not even expect him. But now looking back at it, everyone likes to bash on Curry and say he's not clutch at all because everyone thinks of the NBA Finals. And in those dying moments when they need a shot, he wasn't able to deliver. But Stephen Curry has been that number one option for so long that he has had a lot of clutch moments in a lot of other games. So that part makes sense. And another player I wanted to point out was Jason Tatum is on this list, number 8. He's above Kyrie Irving, by the way, who's hit probably the most clutch shot in NBA history. So, yeah, I don't know if I'd put him above Kyrie Irving, but I think it's interesting that that's what the number shows.
I can't remember how many games had the players had to play, because I was surprised by Tatum too, because he's relatively new. How many games were the percentages going? How many was the maximum that you had to play? I can't remember what it was.
Yeah,
I don't remember either, but I remember they mentioned it.
Minimum of 250 games.
I'm like,
how many? A minimum of 250 games played.
That's weird. Tatum's already played that many. I guess
Yeah.
so. He really hasn't
Yeah.
played that much.
Oh, it's his third or fourth season in the league.
Yeah.
So what?
Is it his third or fourth season in the league?
Might be his fourth, actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I mean that makes sense because 82 games in a season plus playoffs, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
enough
This was
experience to be considered somewhat clutch. But
He was really good that year. Kyrie was hurt in the playoffs when they almost made the finals. Tatum was
yeah,
killing.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing they mentioned in that article was they didn't really consider defensive stats. So like a Bam Adebayo block against the Celtics wasn't
Yeah,
considered like a
that
clutch
was a
stat.
clutch block.
Exactly. So like my thing is when people say clutch, they just think about like the Kyrie hitting that shot over Steph or um Anthony Davis hitting that shot with the Nuggets. I think they should start considering things like block steals, things like that. Like, because I mean, you still are clutch. I mean, technically, because Bam Adebayo's block was,
That
yo,
was clutch.
that was. I mean, yeah, that was literally clutch. So
But you know what I'm gonna say next, though, right?
what's
The
that?
Iguodala LeBron James clutch
Yeah.
block in the finals. That was
Yeah, yeah. Blocked by
Yeah.
James. The best
Greatest or
soundbite. One of the best
most
sound
important
bites ever.
block.
Blocked by
Yeah.
James. That's one thing. But I was curious. I wonder if they. I'm pretty sure they could do this, but imagine if they did it for like an all-time list, right? Where would
yeah.
certain players be? That would be
Oh,
cool to see.
they said LeBron is number one all time in playoff buzzer beaters. He has 5,
Mm.
which that's
Wow.
crazy. I can think of about 2 or 3, but I was like 5. That's a lot.
Well, I can
Yeah,
think of
the
one
one he hit over
against,
Chicago. I remember
Oh, I
that one.
forgot about that one.
and
Yeah,
then one over Jimmy Butler, and then
Yeah,
one he had in the Eastern Conference Finals, I think, against the
the Raptors.
the
the
Raptors. Yeah, I
Magic
remember that one.
and Orlando Magic early in his career. He had a
Yeah,
crazy
that's the one
one.
where he went crazy.
Huh. That's insane. Because I'm thinking like a Brandon Roy might be on there, a Damian Lillard even, or
Damian
even
Lillard has
like
2 buzzer beaters though. He has one against Houston and one against OKC. I
yeah,
remember his.
yeah, and the
So
Brandon Roy one and the Damian Lillard one are really similar. Like they're relatively like the same like spot, same type of like situation. Another guy that I think people are like sleeping on is ISO Joe, man, Joe Johnson,
I
because he
thought
was
about him too.
statistically. I remember at one point statistically he was the clutchest player in the league at
I
one point.
remember that.
yeah,
That man was like, and he could still hoop
yeah.
playing in the big three. He's hooping.
So
Yeah, he can.
I wanted to ask you if you were just off the cuff, think of top 5 clutchest players of all time. Who would you have on that list?
Obviously, I haven't seen anybody just like you just can't count buzzer beaters.
Yeah,
Obviously, to
yeah,
me, you have to have clutch games too. So I would
yeah,
have to say Jordan, would be number one there.
yeah,
He didn't have as many clutch buzzer beaters and clutch games, but the clutch games he had were very memorable. That's Reggie Miller.
Oh,
He didn't have as many as Jordan or anybody, but the ones he have, people will remember.
yeah,
crazy.
that's a fact.
The choke.
That's a fact.
Yes,
That's a
against
fact.
the Knicks.
Yeah,
That's a fact.
Kobe Bryant too. Obviously, people criticize him for shooting too much, but he wasn't afraid to take that shot. Some players are afraid to take those kind of shots.
Yeah,
He wasn't
yeah,
afraid.
yeah. I remember since you brought up Kobe and how he's not afraid to take these shots. I remember when he first started. Obviously, I was too young to actually watch these games and realize what's happening. But I remember Kobe when he first started playing. He airballed a lot. I think it was against
Yep.
Utah.
Utah,
Airballed a lot.
he
And
airballed 4
Shaq,
shots in a row.
yeah, exactly. And Shaq pulled him aside and was like, "Yo, like I don't care, like keep shooting." He was basically encouraging him because he knew how much of a beast Kobe would turn out to be.
Yeah.
So, to your point, exactly, he wasn't afraid.
yeah. That's Kobe. You know who reminds me a lot of Kobe? I was just telling Ibrahim this the other day. Zach LaVine on the Bulls. The way he like shoots, it's almost like he doesn't care who's around him. He
Oh,
just
okay.
pulls up.
I see what you're saying.
He pulls
Man,
up,
it's
doesn't care.
crazy. A guy who couldn't shoot when he first came to the NBA. He
Yeah.
shoots effortlessly now
Yeah,
from way behind the 3-point line sometimes. Easily.
yeah, yeah. One of the most effortless shots ever.
Yes.
So I wanted to do a quick segue and see what you think of the new state of the Nets, Brooklyn Nets. Um, my first question is, do you think that team is going to work out?
Uh, Wait, do you mean this year or you just mean in general? Because I
Like
think James
right
Harden's still
now,
signed.
yeah, with this
Not
three-man
right,
team.
not right now. They might need maybe 2 or 3 years. The reason I say that because most championship teams have at least one defensive stopper, and
Yeah.
they gave up a lot of players to get Harden. They gave up
Man,
like they got rid of Jarrett Allen, who was a
Yeah.
solid player for
yep.
Yeah.
and it's
I was kind of
good when he's
hoping the
hurt.
Bulls would get him.
Oh yeah, I like Jarrett.
So do you think, and everyone's been talking about this, do you think giving up Kyrie Irving for a bunch of assets would be a smart idea?
Um, I don't know. I kind of would like to see how they would work together if they put more pieces in the offseason around it first. Like give them a chance
Yeah, to
with
see what
like
happens.
a defensive stopper, some more defensive players and some more role players that can fit around, like some more people like Joe Harris. He's a
Yeah.
perfect complement to them because he's a spot up 3-point shooter. You're gonna have to double team him. He's gonna be open. He can knock down open shots.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, he's a
That makes
stud, man.
sense.
He could shoot.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
he can shoot too.
the first thing that comes to mind with that team is like, obviously, if you look at the personnel with Steve Nash, Amari, and D'Antoni, like my first thought is that run and gun Suns team that they once had that really could have like made a big push to the finals, man. So like, seeing how that team is built, it kind of makes me wonder like they're probably going to do the same thing, and they're probably not really going to care about defense. Granted, you like you said, you are going to need that one Andre Iguodala type defender who's kind of guard the best guy. The other thing I wanted to say was I think what's going to happen, and this could be something completely wild, but I think what's going to happen is they're going to put James at the point and have Kyrie run the two, and they're just going to have James Harden be like, "Listen, get your 15, 20 assists, get your 15 points, 20 points, and let the other two guys get their 30, 40." I
It
think
looks
that's the
like that's
best
what's
way.
already happening, though. If you look at the stats, Harden's
Exactly.
been getting a lot of assists with them. He's not even trying to really shoot
Yeah.
like he did for Houston.
Yep.
And
He's
people
playing
and
kind of
people
like James Harden from OKC, actually.
I was about to say that people disrespect James in the sense that they think that he's like obviously he's an offensive threat, right? Obviously he's looking to get his, but he's a really good passer, man. Like he
He's a
can
really great
facilitate
passer.
really well. And somebody I forgot who said this, but somebody was saying James Harden's gonna mess around and break the season record for assists if he keeps this up. Like imagine like getting like 20 assists a game because it's gonna be easy having a guy with KD on your team.
Yeah.
So
Dude, speaking of that, when you guys were talking about Wilt, I don't know if you guys noticed, Wilt Chamberlain led them in assists one year.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, Jimmy.
like
And
he
so
changed his scoring mentality and was like, hey, it'd be better if I assist more this year. So
yeah, I wanted to clarify my my Bill Russell slander and I guess put everything into perspective. So, and like you even mentioned, or I don't know who mentioned it, but they didn't even record blocks for either Wilt or Russell, or I don't think anyone in the league. They didn't record
no,
blocks that
that
year.
sounds so stupid, but go ahead.
Yeah. And obviously those two players were crazy with blocks. And I just think that given the amount of crazy talent Bill Russell had and the amount of points he had and compared to Wilt, I'm surprised Bill Russell gets as much attention as he does today, and Wilt doesn't nearly get any attention compared to him. It almost makes me mad because if I were to choose between the two, I would choose Wilt. I don't know about you guys,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. What do
Take a
you think
look.
about that situation?
Well, I think people look at the, rings. I don't know how it was back in the day, but nowadays people do. It's kind of unfair because that'd be like me saying Will Purdue's better than Charles Barkley because he has rings, which is obviously that's not the case, obviously. But I think that's why the one thing I will say Bill Russell does have over Wilt, he's proven to be a great leader. And he was a leader of those teams, even though he didn't score all the points. The best leadership story I heard about him was the year they were going up against Wilt and the Lakers. The Lakers could have won, Bill Russell saw balloons under the stands, and he got mad. He's like, they think they're gonna win. He said he walked into the locker room and was like, they can't beat us. They can't. And they went out and smashed the Lakers, and I was like, whoa.
That's dope.
The heck? Like Wilt has the craziest stories. I want to ask you about the first one. Did he score 100 points? Do you think he did?
Yeah, I think he did.
You
He
think did?
averaged 50 that year.
Oh yeah, yeah. I guess that's believable.
I mean, also too, we've talked about this off camera, Jamil. The man was playing against like accountants and like just like these like the NBA or whatever it was. I think it was the ABA, right? The ABA was their side gig back then. It wasn't like how it is now. These guys weren't super freaks.
Yeah.
So he was a man amongst boys in that time.
But people say the same thing about Shaq too. People say he's bigger than everybody, which is true. But to me, I've seen players who are bigger than Shaq and Wilt, like George Mirasan and Sean Bradley, and they don't have the same. They're not Wilt and Shaq.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing. I was listening to something today. The thing with Shaq is everyone thinks that he was just like this big guy who just like powered through you and dunked. Shaq had like post moves. He had baby hooks.
Yeah, he had post moves. Yeah.
Like he had an actual game. He wasn't just this big like guy that'll power through you. He had finesse to his game. So, I mean, I'm happy you brought that up because a lot of people are just like, Shaq was just big. If I was that size, I'd be able to be as dominant. It was not that easy.
Like I just said, I'd name like players who were bigger than Shaq, and they didn't do that. So.
They didn't do anything. Like you got players like Joel Embiid, who doesn't do anything with his body until this year. He's finally starting to realize.
Phenomenal.
Oh my God!
This is like the best he's played like 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, MVP candidate.
I think Doc probably was one of the best things for him, to be honest. Even though people criticize Doc because they lost in the bubble, but I think that honestly was the best thing for a player like Embiid.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, now that we've talked about Embiid and Wilt Chamberlain, I wanted to ask, do you think those two players, Joel Embiid and Wilt Chamberlain, would be able to survive in the opposite eras, right? Wilt Chamberlain now and Joel Embiid then.
It's tough to say because people always say that about LeBron in the 90s because if you were born in a different time, you would only know how to play basketball one way. You wouldn't know. You get what I'm saying? Now,
exactly.
Talk about putting Embiid in a time machine and sending him back there. I don't know if he could survive it, but if he was born during that time period, he would only know to play one way.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's probably the best answer you can give because we can always.
Think, like you said, I think Wilt would have an advantage because there's not that many centers that can post up nowadays. If he was in this era, there's not that many centers who even know how to guard the post. So Wilt, Shaq, and all those old school centers would have an advantage in today's game because most centers just want to shoot threes. Yeah. They're not used to guarding post-up centers.
He would eat what's his name, Wendell Carter alive. We got a 6'9" center. I mean, he could barely even stop Sabonis. I mean, Sabonis is good, but Sabonis was looking like Shaq against us. It was crazy.
Sabonis gets better every year. I didn't know he was going to be this good. Most NBA players who their fathers were great like that, the sons are usually role players, and this guy is like an all-star player. And I'm actually surprised. I didn't think because when he first came to the league, he was okay, but since he's been to the Pacers, he's gotten better every year.
Yeah. And the Oladipo trade has helped him out a lot too. Now he can have the ball in his hands a lot more.
I kind of was sad. I wanted to see a healthy T.J. Warren, a healthy Sabonis, and a healthy Oladipo, and I never got to see it. One of them was always hurt. Like T.J. Warren.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, I just realized maybe we can take a quick break in the middle of this right now. We never got to talk about our jerseys. What jerseys we're wearing right now. So if we want to go around, we never got to talk about what jerseys.
Go ahead, Jamil.
So right now I'm actually wearing an NFL jersey, not an NBA jersey. So this is Brandon Marshall. He used to play for the Chicago Bears. This is an authentic NFL jersey, and it's an actual like in-game jersey. It's not just a regular authentic jersey. It's an in-game worn jersey. So this is like a really, really hard, thing. I forgot what this is called, but it's really, really difficult. You can't. There's no tug on this at all. I can tell it's definitely made for some hard hitting players. But yeah, I loved Brandon Marshall when he was on the Bears.
All right. Well,
All
I
right, well, I'm
got.
wearing the, wait, you go first then.
Sorry, I got the Grandmama Classic Charlotte jersey. Oh no, you can't see it.
I can
Hold
see
on,
it.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
We got it.
Grandmama. If y'all don't know who Grandmama is, do your research. Larry Johnson, very
Please
underrated
do your
player,
research.
for real. Who
Yes.
also happens to be her brother, for people who don't know.
Mm.
So that's pretty cool. But man was a beast on the Charlotte Hornets. Yes, the Charlotte Hornets, they existed at one time. And he was a New York Knick, the famous 4-point shot. So
Oh yeah,
That's funny.
of course. The Phantom Foul, another Phantom Foul in NBA playoffs.
Yeah, for real. Oh man,
I'm
you have
wearing
the
the.
whole
I
drip
don't
today.
know if you guys can see it. The
Oh
Chicago
man.
Bulls.
oh, the
Michael Jordan's rookie.
cursive joint.
Yeah. I never
Jeez.
hooped with this one. I didn't want to ruin this.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you. I think the best one that I seen you wear was the Raptors Vince. Was it the Vince Carter one? The Raptors with the
Yeah.
bold logo.
Yeah.
That was like the best one I
Yeah.
think I've ever seen you hoop in. That
Dude.
one's
I don't
clean.
remember wearing that when you were there. I remember wearing it. I don't remember you being there. Maybe I wore it more than once, I guess.
Oh
Quick
man.
story about Eddie D, man. He I remember one time we were sitting on the bench, and I've never heard of Sean Livingston before. Never heard of this dude. And he was telling me how Sean, I was like, yeah, Sean Livingston, this and that. I just brought him up how he's like a role player, this and that. I remember him telling me about his injury, and I distinctly remember you pulling up the video and showing me that gruesome injury he had. I remember
No.
that. Like till this day, I remember that, and I was like,
That's
"Dang."
so bad. I don't know why I did that. It's terrible video.
But yeah, you were telling me how he was like really good. He's a skilled player. He was tall as a hell. Could shoot the ball, play defense, and I mean, look what he did in Golden State, man. He was a really really important piece on that team.
Yeah.
Did
Okay.
you?
Well,
Do they have? I'm sure they have highlights on YouTube how he used to play.
Yeah, most definitely. Man, that injury was gruesome.
man. Yeah, dude, Sean Livingston, he had superstar potential, and sadly, one injury can change a person, as we've learned in the NBA. But his was probably one of the worst injuries I've ever seen on the court. Him and Paul George.
I was just happy he was able to get back, and he actually, was able to play. I mean, not the potential he had before, but he's still. I'm sure Golden State could use him now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
For real.
definitely.
He had a really nice pull up in the mid range. He was really nice. He
Yeah,
would always hit
I
the
remember
nice
that.
shots that
Yeah.
they needed. That always hit
that was
them.
his bread and butter, man. The pull up.
But speaking of Golden State, I want to speak about the team, the person that is always associated with Golden State, and that is LeBron. So
Mhm.
what is your take on Jordan versus LeBron? Can you compare them? Who do you think is better? And what's your take on the whole comparison?
I think it's a silly comparison, not because I think Jordan is. I mean, I think Jordan is the greatest of all time, but they don't even play the same position. LeBron plays more like Magic Johnson or Grant Hill before the ankle injury, where he's a pass first player. If he needs to score, he will, but he'd rather get his teammates involved. Jordan was like a crazy, competitor, scorer. Phil Jackson had to yell at him to pass to John Paxson in the finals. He didn't want to pass. He was trying to win it by himself. Phil was like, give it to John Paxson. You're getting double teamed. You're not going to have to tell LeBron to pass in a double team.
Yeah.
He will always pass. He will always make the correct basketball play.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan was so competitive and wanted to win it so bad, he didn't want to trust his teammates.
Yeah.
Which is not really a knock on anybody. There's a lot of NBA players that do that, but he just had to make the adjustment. You saw it, letting him win his 6 championships. Once he trusted his teammates, they were unbeatable then. Now you have Kerr, Paxson, BJ, all these guys are getting wide open shots because they're double teaming Jordan.
Yeah. I gave a hot take yesterday on my Snapchat. I was basically saying, like, how can you be considered the GOAT if you're just gonna sit there and complain over the most petty fouls ever? Like, if you're the GOAT, just play better than the other team and stop crying over every single call that's thrown at you.
He
Just,
does complain a lot.
yeah, for me,
I
it
mean,
just,
a lot of them do complain. Karl Malone used to cry a lot, and Jordan would complain. The only thing I don't like about LeBron, a few years ago, he's not doing it too much now because I think he knows the end of his career is coming up.
yeah,
But there were a few years in Cleveland where he would complain and he wouldn't get back on defense. Now,
yeah,
Michael Jordan complained to referees, but he wouldn't stop playing defense to do it.
Yep.
LeBron would stand there and the other team would score because it was a 5-on-4.
yeah, makes sense.
Like, you can complain, but you can't cost your team. You get what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Another big comparison that I think is left out too is on the defensive end, right? Everyone thinks LeBron is this like this amazing defender and this and that, which I'm not saying he's a liability on defense, but in terms of I'm talking about on-ball defense, LeBron really isn't one of the best. He's more of like the help defense, off-ball, chase down block type of defense, right? Jordan is the type of guy that'll lock your ass up and then give you 40, right? We all know that. I mean,
Yeah.
won Defensive Player of the Year and MVP the same season. I think, was it Olajuwon? Yeah, Hakeem did it one year, and I don't know if anyone else did it after that. But I know that's one thing that no one really talks about.
Giannis did it. Giannis just did it last year.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
There we
Giannis
go.
just did it.
Yep. So I mean, to be considered the GOAT, I think you need to be a beast on both ends. You can't just get your teammates involved, get your points, get your rings.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I don't like is Jordan doesn't get the credit on the defensive end.
I think he's a solid defensive player, but I think Scottie and Michael were better than him. It was like I said, there were some seasons in Cleveland and LA where he didn't play defense. You really can't say that about Jordan and Pippen. They always played defense.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember there was a story how they used to take turns guarding Kukoc with the Dream Team.
Olympics, yeah.
Yeah. So like that just shows like they used to have fun about guarding like the best players on the team. Like
Yeah.
you're just seeing LeBron guarding the best players. Like I think was it yesterday the Lakers and Bucks played? So we're filming this on Friday. They played Thursday, and he was guarding him some possessions, but I think AD was guarding him most of the game. So I mean, just proves my point even more.
But that makes sense though, because AD is that's another thing. AD is a great. People kind of forget AD is a great. To me, AD was a defensive player before he became, great on offense.
Oh, facts.
Yeah. Okay, so to do a segue, speaking of our favorite players and the GOAT comparisons, I want to ask for some quick top fives. So the first top five I want to hear from everyone is your top five favorite players of all time. We'll start with you, David.
All right. I got Vince Carter at 5, Dennis Rodman 4, Magic Johnson 3, Shaq 2, Michael Jordan 1.
That's a solid list. Dennis Rodman, man. It's funny that you picked Dennis Rodman because you rebound a lot like him. The grunting and just the power throwing people on the rebound. So I see exactly where that's coming from.
What makes you put VC?
Oh man, I love VC, man. When he's on Toronto and when he first got the Nets, he was still in his prime too. He was just exciting to watch.
Oh, that Nets team was nice, man. RJ, J Kidd, VC, Kenyon Martin. Yeah. Oh man.
Oh yeah. I almost forgot about Peyton Martin.
They were no match though for Shaq though. Kenyon Martin even said it publicly. He's like,
remember the year they went to the finals, Vince wasn't there. That was when they had Kerry Kittles.
Oh yeah, you're right. Actually, you're right. Yes. But yeah, so
even if they have Vince, I don't know. I mean, Vince can't guard Shaq either. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he can't guard him either. Yeah.
It might not made a difference.
That's true.
So my favorite 5 would be no specific order. I just went based off of positions. I got D Rose. I got Kobe. I got Jimmy / Luol Deng. I can't really decide between the two, just because I watched Luol first, obviously. I got Dirk Nowitzki, who's my all-time favorite, and I don't care how dumb it sounds. I got my boy Joakim Noah. love the way he's
Oh
love the way he
yeah,
plays.
Jakeem Noah is a man. I love
Yeah,
Jakeem Noah.
love
Yeah.
that guy.
So for me, I got one surprising name on here you guys probably aren't expecting. Um, so I got Kobe, I got Michael Jordan, I got Steph Curry, I got my favorite of all time, Derrick Rose, and the fifth one I got is Luka Doncic.
Ooh.
I love
Oh,
Luka, bro. I am here for the Luka hype train. I want this man, literally, I want him to be the GOAT by the time he finishes. Like, I love him so much. Just like the way he goes about it.
he's fun to watch, man.
Yeah. You know, you can tell
He's
he's
not
not
even
overly
fast. He
arrogant.
just is smart.
Yeah.
He's not. He doesn't have the craziest handles. Like when you step back, you can see him in slow motion. And he still hits it.
But see, that's why I always hate the argument when people say certain players in the 80s, they're like, yeah, James Worthy or Larry Bird couldn't play in today's game because they're not athletic. I'm like, well, Luka, Steve Nash, there's been a lot of players who aren't super athletic who dominate the NBA.
Yeah. You just gotta have good IQ,
Luka's
to be
proof of
honest.
it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Luka definitely. Okay, so the next top five we're gonna go for are the best five of all time. So we'll
I'm
start
getting it
with
starting again.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right. Five, I have Bron. 4, Kobe. 3, Russell. Magic 2, and MJ 1.
Wow.
Bill
That
Russell.
is
Okay. You're gonna get a lot of shit from that. You're gonna get a lot of shit because of Jamil.
I
All
know.
that Bill Russell slander.
so wait, let-
11
let me-
rings, my man.
let me ask you what is the biggest factor for what you decided? Was it rings?
Not really, because LeBron hasn't really won, as much as I don't think he's won as much as anybody who I put ahead of him. But his consistency and all the times a lot of people can't even get to the NBA Finals, let alone as many times. I can't remember what number it is, but just that and his basketball IQ and instincts. He's just a really smart player. He always had the IQ, but he really couldn't put it together when he was in Cleveland the first time. Then when he went away to Miami, it was with like Udonis Haslem and Pat Riley and around people like that. He just took everything he learned there, and ever since then he's been pretty much a different LeBron.
Yeah, for real. All right, Abe.
So I'm going again. I base this off of positions, but I'm not saying that's the right or wrong way to go about it. So I went Stockton, MJ, Bird, Hakeem, and Kareem. Hakeem is I really think is a sleeper with everyone's like conversation about the GOATs and things like that. I mean, the man had was it quadruple double twice, and only one other person did it. So and then Kareem, like, I mean, just the name speaks for itself. Skyhook,
Obviously it's
score,
Kareem.
all that stuff,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay. So for me, I keep going back and forth between Hakeem or Kareem. Sometimes I'm Hakeem, sometimes I'm Kareem. So we'll just put that as one. I think today I'm feeling Hakeem, just because I liked how dominant he was, and like how when Michael Jordan at least was gone, he dominated. So I got him, and then I got number 4 Shaq, number 3 Kobe, number 2 LeBron, and number 1 Michael Jordan.
Dang, that's a great list, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I put LeBron at 2, because his IQ, in my opinion, is top 2, if not number 1 best IQ ever. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But the thing is, he doesn't have any go-to things in his play that really stand out. Like, he was never the best shooter. He never had the best fadeaway. He was like, you can argue maybe he's the best passer right now, but for the majority of his career, that was not the story. But it's just his IQ alone, and the fact that when you put LeBron on a team, it's a winning team, no matter what. I think he deserves to to be up there. But Michael Jordan, I mean, 6-0, 10 scoring titles, Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know how many times, MVP, like what, 5 times. It's just it's
And you
hard to
know,
beat
it's
it.
funny. You know, I was talking about trusting your teammates. Have you guys seen some of Jordan's numbers before he trusted his teammates? Like before they were winning, his numbers were even more bananas before they
Yeah.
started winning championships.
Yeah.
And they didn't shoot 3-pointers. Those are mostly 2-pointers. He was averaging that many points. It's crazy.
I heard a story. I think when the Bulls, before they were good before the 90s, I think late 80s, at one point they had lost all their point guards due to injury, so they had to play Michael Jordan at point guard. And
Yes.
those are apparently like his best like games ever. He was putting up crazy, crazy numbers. And the fact that they put him back to shooting guard after they got like point guards back still baffles me to this day that he would have had probably even crazier numbers.
Dude, he was putting up like the numbers that Harden and Westbrook and LeBron, his numbers were like that because he's playing point.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
Okay. So next, this does not have to be basketball. This can be whoever you want. 5 dinner guests.
Dead or alive?
Yeah, dead or alive. 5 people you wanted you're at a dinner.
All right, I got to get my list. I had Kobe, President Obama, Martin Luther King, Stephen King, and Michael Jackson.
Stephen King, man. That's a good one.
I like Michael Jackson. That one's
So,
cool.
you know, I'm a writer, so I would like to get in his mind about how he writes, and I would like to hear that.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going my grandpa because he passed away before I was old enough to actually have deep conversation with him, and me and Jimmy both knew him. Very wise man. Malcolm X. I'm going Kareem, and I gotta have a comedian because I wanted it to lighten the mood a little, so I'm putting Dave Chappelle in there.
That'd be good.
Yeah. And then my fifth, my fifth is Muhammad Ali.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
That's a good one too.
So for me, number 1, I had Steve Carell because I love The Office. Number 2, I don't know if you know him, David. His name's KSI. He's big on YouTube. He's actually into the music game. I don't know if you've heard of his name yet. Number 3, I got Derrick Rose. Number 4, I got Kendrick. And number 5, he is a world famous mathematician. His name is Carl Friedrich Gauss. And this past semester, funny story, I took 3 different classes. I took a math class, I took a physics class, and I took a computer science class. He had a different theorem in all 3 of the different classes. And I'm just like, how smart was this guy? I need to meet him. So Carl Friedrich Gauss, I would want to have dinner with him.
It's good you got Steve Carell, especially if you got a mathematician like that to kind of keep things, balanced.
Yeah, keep it balanced.
Last thing we want to do before we wrap up, top 5 albums, right? So as you can see, I got the Wu-Tang symbol behind me. Jamil, go ahead, talk about your background.
My background right here, this is Untitled Unmastered by Kendrick Lamar. I love this album. My favorite album, honestly.
So obviously these albums do not have to be rap. They could be any genre. But go ahead, David. We'll start off with you.
Okay, my number 5 is Raekwon the Chef, only built for Cuban links.
The first one?
Yes. I got number 5. Number 5.
Okay.
Number 4, All Eyes on Me, Tupac. Number 3, Wu-Tang, Enter the 36 Chambers. 2 is Michael Jackson, Bad. 1 is Michael Jackson, Thriller.
Okay. That's crazy. Okay. That's crazy. So my no specific order. I got Victory Lap by Nipsey. I'm not gonna lie, never heard of this man until he passed away, but still doesn't mean I can't recognize good music. I got 36 Chambers by Wu-Tang. That's my other one. I also have the Tupac All Eyes on Me. And other one I got is Liquid Swords by GZA.
Oh, yeah.
Member. I love that album, man. I have that on repeat. Crazy. That one's so good. Just, man, And then the other one, kind of going new school here, ADHD by Joyner Lucas. One of my favorites right now.
That's a great album too. Yeah, I got that one.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So I'm gonna give my list. Funny enough, my number 5 is actually ADHD by Joyner Lucas. Yeah. Number 4 is Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Kanye. And top 3 are all Kendrick.
Yeah.
Number 3, Good Kid, Mad City. Actually, I'll put that at number 2. Number 3, I put To Pimp a Butterfly. Number 2, Good Kid, Mad City. And number 1, Untitled, Unmastered.
Yo, that Untitled one was fire, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Untitled one was fire.
But yeah, so that was everything. I don't. Did you want to discuss anything before we call it quits, call it a wrap?
No, he said, I could possibly be on the show again. So
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir. But before
Yeah.
we wrap up, let's give you the opportunity to plug anything, talk about what you're working
Yeah.
on, plug your social media accounts, plug whatever it is you want to talk about, man.
Well, I'm David Whittaker, .100 on Instagram. On YouTube, I'm S Killer Records. That's all together, not separate. Right now, I'm probably gonna write another article about why the NBA should consider a bubble 2 for the playoffs, because you can't
Nice.
have people missing games during the middle of playoffs, and that somebody's gonna win the championship that would have no chance. Like if LeBron and Anthony Davis have COVID and have to sit out in the middle of like Game 7, like that just can't happen. You have to
That
go
can't
to
happen.
bubble 2.
Yep.
So I'm probably gonna be working on that. I also want to write an article about the new Marvel television shows too.
Ooh, yes.
Which one are you excited for?
I want to see that the Winter Soldier one actually.
Okay.
That one's got a lot of Black history in it too, man, from what I heard. So it's gonna be fun to watch. Yeah, we'll talk about this
Yeah.
off camera, but it's cool, man. It's cool.
All right, cool.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Thank you, David. This
Sure.
is the
You're welcome.
conclusion of episode 2. All right. Peace out, guys.
Thanks for having me.